introduce Barbara from England, who has CFS ME. Welcome, Barbara.
Hi, nice to talk to you.
Could you tell us when you first started experiencing symptoms?
It was 11 years ago that I first started to feel absolutely exhausted, so it was a good 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And was it after an illness or something?
It was after working very hard for a long period of time. I'd been working about 70 hours a week, and then I got a really, I don't know if it was flu or a very bad cold, but it put me to bed. And then as soon as I recovered from that, we moved house, and I never really got better. Never really got better from that time. Doctors at the time, I was just coming into the menopause, so it was put down to the menopause, and HRT didn't do anything. And I developed Hashimoto's thyroiditis at the same time, so that was blamed for it, but the medication never made any difference to how I was feeling, even though I was on thyroid medication. So it was just a mystery for years.
Mm-hmm. So what happened then? I mean, did you suffer? I know lots of people with CFS-ME have a lot of pain as well as the fatigue.
No, I was one of the lucky ones. I felt ill all the time. I always describe it as I'm a complete teetotaler, but I know what it's like to have a hangover because I haven't always been a complete teetotaler. And it was like you've had the worst booze up on a Saturday night and you wake up with that feeling on a Sunday where you can just hardly move. You're so tired, you're confused, memory's gone. You know, that awful feeling of just not being able to do anything for yourself. My worst days were like that. My worst days, I struggled just to take the dog into the garden to go for a pee. It was terrible. So, like a killer hangover, but I think I'm one of the lucky ones, and I have a friend with the same condition, and it even hurts her to move her head. The only pain I ever experienced with it was great discomfort in my legs all the time, but other than that, no joints, no real problem at all.
Right. So how did you hear about LDN?
Because I've never stopped searching. I've lost track of the thousands of hours I've done on the internet trying to find some sort of treatment. And it was only recently that I came across your website, just quite by accident, continually Googling different keywords for ME treatment, ME therapy, and LDN came up. I couldn't believe it when I read it. It just felt like a door opening. It really did.
How long ago was that, Barbara?
Only this year, just a few months ago.
Right. So how did you manage to obtain a prescription for LDN?
Oh, well, I printed off all of your information and took it down to my doctor, who's a very sweet man. But he wouldn't prescribe it for me. The government guidelines state that, well, everybody's told you this, the government guidelines state that you can only prescribe this for heroin addiction.
No.
I know, and I told him. I told him what you said. I said, but notwithstanding, if you feel the treatment will benefit me, you can prescribe it, but he wouldn't. And so I got back in touch with you, and you told me about ENED. So I now have it from ENED, and they sent it to Dixon's in Glasgow. Dixon sent it to me, and actually it works better for me like that because quite often I'm not here in England. Quite often my husband works overseas, so quite often I'm, instead of lying around in England half dead, I was lying around in France half dead. So Dixon's are brilliant. They just send it to either France or England, wherever I am. So it works better for me now not to have it on the National Health.
Right. Well, that's a positive anyway, isn't it?
It
so
is.
when you first started, did you notice any negative effects?
Oh, what everybody gets. I got the most peculiar, people call it bizarre dreams, but in my case, just before I was going off to sleep, I was almost having, not quite, maybe hallucinations, but a vague impression of kind of 3D movement. And it's like my dreams suddenly became 3D. And I started dreaming before I went to sleep. But that only lasted about 2 weeks. And it wasn't frightening. It was just very, very interesting because I was prepared for it. I knew that, there was a chance of having these. But other than that, no. The only things I've had from LDN are benefits.
And what benefits have you had?
Well, it's changed my life. Once I got up to 3 millilitres. It's a very slow build-up, and I think in retrospect I wish I'd built it up more quickly, but it had no effect at all until I got up to 3 millilitres. And in fact, the day before I went up to well, round about the time I went up to 3 mil, I was as poorly as I'd ever been, and I just thought, oh, I'm going to be one of the ones that it doesn't work for. However, the next day I woke up, and I'd been up about an hour, and I suddenly thought, I don't feel ill. I don't feel ill. And a couple of hours later, I'm thinking, I still don't feel ill. And I just couldn't believe it. Throughout the day, I was waiting to feel ill, and I never did. And by the time I got up to 4.5 millilitres, I was really so vastly improved. It's just fantastic. I don't feel ill. I still tire quite quickly. No, actually not quite quickly. I still tire if I overdo it. Because I'm so encouraged by now having energy and feeling well that I am inclined sometimes to do too much. And then I'll tire easily, and it'll take a while for my energy to come back. But my energy does come back. So I would say that my stamina is still quite poor, but I recover more quickly. And the best thing of all is, if you're tired, you can have a rest and get well anyway. If you're tired and sick, having a rest isn't going to make you feel any better because you'll still feel ill.
Yeah.
And that was how it was for me. But that actually has gone with LDN. It's gone.
And what does your husband think to the improvements in you?
Oh, my goodness me. He's just delighted. He can't believe it. He's got his wife back after, I keep saying it's 10 years. But he says, no, I've been counting. It was 11 years. So he says he's got his wife back. And it's just absolutely wonderful. And that was one of the worst things, was feeling as though I was a great big fat burden to everybody, because I wasn't contributing anything in this family, really. Nothing at all. It makes you feel so guilty.
Yes. What about your GP? What does he think?
Well, do you know what? I'm trying to get an appointment to go down and arm wrestle him, actually, but I can't get an appointment at the moment, so I want to go back in and tell him, you've got to really look at this again. Because GPs are very resistant to this. My niece has this, and she's only young, so she won't fight her corner in the same way that I did. And she's been back down to see her GP. And do you know what? She's been offered antidepressants, again, as we're always offered antidepressants. And she's been offered cognitive behavioural therapy, which is the only treatment they actually do offer you. And I find that painfully insulting, because to me that is really like saying, oh, we'll fix your head and your body will follow. I think most of us probably are, sad about this. I'm not going to say clinically depressed, because I don't think I ever was, but I was terribly sad that I had this illness. Yeah. But being depressed didn't cause the illness. The illness made me sad.
Yes. I totally agree with that.
It really frustrates me. As I say, I'm getting very evangelical about it, because I know that if there was $1 trillion to be made out of this medication, there would be clinical tests. Big Pharma would be pushing it to make the money. But because nobody's going to make any money out of it, it almost feels like nobody's interested in doing anything about getting this drug out there. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah. What would you say to other people with your condition who are contemplating trying LDN?
Well, as I said to my niece, you've got nothing to lose. This drug has been tested over many years. It doesn't seem to have any side effects. It doesn't seem to be anything but benefits. You've got nothing to lose and everything in the world to gain, but you've got to stand up for yourself and fight for it. Because I'm quite sure everybody's doctor, I don't know if it's the same with other autoimmune diseases, but in the case of CFS-ME, I think doctors have acknowledged to themselves that there's no treatment for this condition, and so they don't treat it. And I would say to anybody in my situation, fight for what you want. Fight for what you want and give it a go, because I'm 60 now, and instead of thinking, oh my goodness, are the next 10 years going to be like the last 10 years, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have a life. I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to do things that I haven't done in 10 years. Because I've done nothing in 10 years. I've watched a lot of telly. I could answer quizzes on virtually every television programme, because that's really all I've been doing for years. So yeah, anybody else in the same situation, go out there and get what you want. Find the energy to fight for it. It's so important.
How have you found your thyroid condition?
Well, I'm excited about this. I haven't noticed any change, but I have to say, because I've only been on the drug 2.5 months now, I haven't had a blood test for my thyroid condition. So at the moment, I don't feel any different. I just feel the same as it. Oh, actually, hang on, now you've asked me that. Maybe I do feel a little bit different, because I used to find that I couldn't talk for very long. My throat and my voice got very tired very quickly, and I always put that down to inflammation of the thyroid gland. But I had friends over yesterday and we rabbited for 3 or 4 hours, so that's a maybe. I can't tell you, but I will get a blood test. And as soon as I can get down to see this doctor who's going to hear all about it. Well, what I would say is that psoriasis was the third thing that I suffer from, and my psoriasis is it's greatly improved, and I think it will go away altogether. I've got half as much psoriasis as I used to have, and it's much less severe.
Well, that's amazing.
So I think LDN for me was absolutely the treatment I was waiting for. It seems to be sorting me out.
Mm-hmm. How about, and I didn't want this bit to be put in the DVD, but how about if I phone you back, or you let me know, and we'll do an update to put with your story?
I'll get the
get
the blood test done. You mean?
Yeah, get that done.
Yeah, I'll get the
let me know, and then we'll
see what that shows.
We'll record it, and then that can be slotted in.
Because I haven't seen anything on your website really about Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but what I did read on
if you have a look
website.
No, but there is some things there. But you have to look for under other conditions on the forum.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, there's one or two
fantastic.
there. Yeah. So
well, wouldn't it be great? I mean, I tell you, the only sad thing is that I didn't know years ago, because I feel as though the 10 years that I lost between 50 and 60 were a big loss, because that was kind of, I don't know. It's the 10 years you get before you draw your old age pension. So anyway, there's no point in moaning about that. The future is bright, and the past is gone. I can't change that. Yeah. But I will try and change it for other people. I really want to get the word out there. So anything I can do to help you spread the word, please just ask. I wish somebody told me about this